We aren't technically open because we're not in the school and we're not in person, but we're allowed to meet virtually and keep these recordings as an amendment to the Open Meetings Act due to the pandemic. Awesome. It's got an agenda up there. We will go ahead and start with roll call then. If you would just unmute yourself and say present so we can check your microphones working as well. Myself, I'll give myself a presence. Chris Schumer.
Present.
Okay. Christina Tassone.
Present.
Okay. Deepak Bapu.
Present.
Okay. Katrina Ramos. I don't see her. Yep. Okay. Stephen Cooper.
Here.
Awesome. Mary McKenna.
Here.
Okay. Caitlin Murphy.
Here.
Fantastic. And Laura, I'm going to say this right.
Oh, Weinbrenn.
I always trip.
Present. Mrs. O.
No, if you don't mind it, I'm going to keep trying because I want to get it.
Fine.
Weinbrenn. And then Angie Cantillon. I think I saw her, so we got her. And Tom Pekarski. I can see you. I think you can speak whenever you can here.
Yeah,
and then
here.
okay, fantastic. Okay, and then Principal Munns, we've got you as well too. So great. We'll go ahead and add any. Sorry, here I just dropped something. All right. Sorry about that. I don't have an echo now. Okay. We'll go ahead and approve the agenda. First, I'll take any modifications to the agenda that need made as it was issued by the school and posted. Does anybody want to make any modifications or changes to the agenda?
You know, can I add, Elaine, just sorry, it's sort of last minute, a safety committee topic for new business, just with some of the action that's been going on.
Sure. That's okay, so under new business, we'll add a topic for a safety committee report. Anything else? Would anybody like to make a change to the agenda? And if not, I'll entertain a motion and a second to approve it.
Motion to approve.
Make it a second.
Second.
Okay, great. Motion carries, and we'll approve the agenda with the one modification to add a safety committee report under new business. Then next order of business is previous meeting minutes from February 8th. We had those distributed. I'm hoping everybody got a chance to take a look at those. I'll take any modifications, changes to the minutes. Otherwise, I'll entertain another motion and a second to approve those.
Motion to approve as is.
I'll second that. Sure.
Fantastic. Motion carries, and we'll approve those minutes from February 8th. And we'll kind of go into a report here for me. And I just want to say big wow on this reopening. This has just been incredible. We'll hear a little bit more about it in the old business. We have it down there as a topic. But it's just incredible to see it not pulled off. To see it meet with great success. It's just been over and above, I think, everybody's expectation. It's just been really clean and clear. And, a good thing overall. Actually, Deepak, could I ask you to mute your I think I'm getting some echo. Might not be it, but, and I also want to, take this opportunity also to thank the teachers, the administration, and everybody who's touched that school and made that opening the wow that it is. We're pretty parent loaded on this school board here, and I think we don't hear enough of the positive feedback and the thank yous and just the unspoken support that's out there in our community. I want the teachers to hear that. I want the school to hear that. It's there. It's not felt so much, like I said, in this meeting, because there's, the majority of us are parents and come as a parent representative purpose to the board. But just a huge thank you, and just, man, over and above the expectations of everybody. So reminder too to the board that new folks, we got to get the training completed, and our background checks and fingerprinting done. Nobody is hardcore policing that, but we should get it done sooner than later. It's only really an issue unless we're, if we get called to the carpet and have to prove that we've met those on time. It could become an issue. Knock on wood, it hasn't in the past decades that we've been on this, but please do push those forward and get those checked off your to-do list.
Elaine, question on that one.
Sure.
Is it just for new folks, or because I went in and it looks like I'm up to date. I did it back in the day, a couple of years ago, so I'm still okay?
Correct. And what I would do too, if you have a chance, even just touch base with Luis, or even Willie, our LSC, actually Luis Garcia would probably be the best, and just double check with him that you're current. He likes to have the contact, and it also is just assurance that we've got all the T's crossed and I's dotted there.
I mean, in the system it says I'm done. I can't even redo it.
Correct. So
I
ask the same question every year. Do I need to do it again? Do I need to do it again? And the answer is you need to do it if you're newly elected. You are not required to redo it once you've done it, but they highly suggest you do it every so often because they do update that material.
Okay, thank you.
So that's the answer you'll get there. I did meet, there was a really big, nice LSC directors meeting that Willie Montes de Orca held, it was a couple weeks ago, where we just sort of met all the other LSC chair people. We went over the Open Meetings Act and the FOIA practices, and he just wanted me to bring to this meeting, an open communication there and any sort of availability that you guys need of him as the LSC director, that, pick up the phone, call him, email him. He's happy to help out with anything. There's been a ton of, or I feel like a ton of workshops and engagement sessions that I believe everybody's getting emails for through CPS Central. I know a couple of us, I've seen us on some of them, budget especially. There was a workshop there. There's been a lot of engagements around equity and partnership there. All of them have just been phenomenal, in my opinion, in terms of organization and content and who's coming to these discussions. So I really, some big kudos out to CPS for hearing what we asked them to do and them doing it. That's just a really good feeling out there, and I think some good things are coming out of it. So if you see those and can make them, I highly suggest attending some of those. And then even super more exciting is this capital expansion project. We'll talk about that again here in the rest of the agenda, but it's happening and it feels fantastic, and we'll hear a little bit more about that from Chris and myself when we get down on the agenda. So having said all that, I'm going to pass it off to you, Principal Munns, and you can go through your stuff.
Sounds good. Chris, I see that your hand is raised. You want to?
Yes. Thank you, Elaine.
Sure.
The workshops, unfortunately, couldn't make it. Was it more informative on how things work, or is it more a workshop on how things should be or may be in the future?
Sure. And I think I saw Deepak at one, and Laura, I saw you at one as well. Christina and I have gone to them in the past, so please chime in. They are introductions. They begin with an introduction, talk about the history and how we developed to the point we're at now. Then you break out into these workshops. They charge you with sort of three bigger questions on, who's missing from these conversations, what could be done in the future to improve it, and reaching for some suggestions. That's kind of the workshop part of it, is that you bring back items for them to look at and work on. So it's a great amount of both. You walk out of there understanding what a budget looks like across the city, not just our school, and then you kind of hear how um, how CPS is shopping for improvements, I guess is the way to say it. They want to know what's not working, and do you have suggestions on better ways for it to work? So I would go to one if you can get to one.
And just so you know, it is posted. If you go to CPS fiscal year 21 budget, the actual deck is posted just so you can at least get a flavor of it. But I thought they were good last year. I didn't attend this year because I kind of thought they were going to be a little bit of the same.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, great question.
Okay. Yeah, I know in general we want to, I think Chris, you brought up, for Sauganash, it makes more sense to go back to a previous way of budgeting, and that was student-based budgeting. What was the term you used?
So position budgeting, like a
Position budgeting, right? I was wondering if that looked likely or not. Opposite direction. We're going. Okay. Just curious. All right. Thanks.
It comes up, and those are the forums to keep pushing it in for certain.
So Chris, to answer your question, I saw the first one. It was like on a Saturday, and I jumped on. Hair not looking my best, let me just say that. And then all of a sudden I was representing the group. And trust me, I pushed for the BRAC's student formula back, because it's what would help our school population the most. But I've got more on some other announcements on there. Thank you, Christina, for posting it. I would definitely, if you didn't see it, I would definitely at least watch the first part, because it does give you a historical background on the budget and what we used to do and why we're doing what we're doing now. So that might be helpful, I think, to the group. So I'm going to jump into principal's report. Before I go right in there, I'm going to actually, since we were talking about that, something interesting that came out of the contract with CPS and CTU was this class size allocation. And in previous years, it was for grades kindergarten through third grade. Now they've extended the grade levels up, and it's what they call the class size Article 28. What they do is they have a joint council, somebody from an administrative, so it's a retired principal and a retired teacher, CTU, and they analyzed how I spend money and where the money is going, and is there enough funds for opening up another position, et cetera, and how are we allocating the students within the grade level, so how many students are in each class. So because of this finding, they did notice that our 2 classrooms of kindergarten are over a classroom size of 32. I'm just going to pause there for a second, because we do have 1 classroom in 5th grade at 32, but because there is 28 in the other class, just because of how students transferred, what have you, we did not qualify for additional teaching position for the 5th grade, but they did give us an additional teaching position for kindergarten. So that is a win for us at Sauganash. So we were able to take Sarah Simone, who was our temporary assigned teacher covering maternity leave for Jessica Berry. She was able to come back on for 3rd quarter in the kindergarten classes, and she was able to take on the remote students. So we have the students that are in hybrid for both Miss Berry and Miss Yadao. They're in charge of their students and can focus on those students in the classroom. And then Miss Simone can focus on her students remotely. So that is a win that we got from the new teacher's contract. CPS is paying for that teaching position. We do not have to pay for it. I did talk to the retired principal that I knew, and sort of gave some feedback as they both agreed. Even though we just got this position now, they were looking at tier 1 and tier 2 schools. So they got to our school mid-year. And an interesting feedback was how they felt that they should be starting with tier 3 schools because of the dire need of it. So just wanted to play off of just that there. So we did get additional teaching positions there. From CPS, we've also gotten an additional, just got notification today for 10 more teacher laptops. So CPS is supporting us with our technology, which is great. And getting rid of, they're also identifying some of our older laptops that need to be replaced. Another thing that I just, for an announcement too, is the Sauganash 5 Essentials, which is the My Voice, My School survey that has been opened. The window has been opened for both teachers and for students. So in the next coming weeks and possibly after spring break, the students may take, students in grades 4th grade and up will take the 5 Essentials survey just to get feedback from them on their school. So that's a great opportunity. The parent window has not opened up yet, but it will be. And then one more thing that I'm encouraging before I jump into the principal's report, sorry, Mr. Kennedy, the school year calendar for next year, making sure that parents have seen that they are looking for feedback. They're thinking about beginning the school year on August 30th, which would be before Labor Day, as opposed to September 7th, to help minimize some of that summer learning loss, provide additional instructional time front-loaded at the beginning of the year. Obviously, we would get out a week earlier in June, so that would support. If you are interested, make sure that you give the feedback. I believe there was an email that was sent out to parents to respond prior to Wednesday. So I just want to make a reminder on that. Another couple great, now I'm going to jump into the principal's report. We are having a Sauganash School Annex community meeting. At this community meeting, it will be run by the Public Building Commission. They will start the meeting out with Alderman Nugent. So they have a community meeting, which will give us information on what the layout of the school will look like, what classrooms they are including, a timeline on that, as well as any kind of Q&A opportunity. So PBC and CPS and the aldermen. So we will be back here in a week. That's Monday, March 22nd at 6:30. We have not received the Zoom link yet from PBC. Once we do, though, I know Mr. Kennedy will put that in the newsletter and on Twitter and Instagram, and it will be on our school website as well as the school calendar. Wanted to give a shout out to our spelling bee winners, and it seems to be a spelling bee family because Ashani got down to a 7th finalist. So that she went very far, got through round 9. The great thing is she's a 5th grader, so we know that we can keep prepping her for the years to come. I do know her mom definitely will. So we're excited for her. She did a great job, and plus it being a virtual, which is sort of a different platform, she did a fantastic job. So we were really excited. Just wanted to give a shout out to Mrs. Yadao. She did a great job. She did a grant for Mrs. Cerna to get a brand new HB Chromebook from the Mimic Foundation. So that was super nice. I love to see our teachers collaborating and recommending each other. So I appreciate Mrs. Yadao, and congratulations to Mrs. Cerna. She got a brand new Chromebook. I would also want to give a shout out to Hallie Askovich for such an awesome job with her Engineers Week. You can see the grade level winners here that did the STEM Family Challenge and participants there. So we thank her for kind of doing some virtual school community building, as well as having fun building their gadgets, building the things. So congratulations to all of them. Thank you very much. Want to jump into competency A and talk about ISB did bring out an announcement that the IAR statewide assessment for this year is going to be what they're calling a shorter language arts 3-unit assessment. So that will be much shorter, only about a 10 to 20 minute assessment. I don't know if it's sort of a check-in. They are currently asking superintendents. So Dr. Jackson probably got a survey deciding whether or not they would do IAR for this spring, which is the state test, or next fall. So we're waiting to hear any steps on that as to when and if we are doing the assessment and how we're going to be doing it. I already on the second page there mentioned about the 5 essential surveys. So please make sure you keep an eye out for an email that will come from CPS. Going down to standard A3, just wanted to let you guys know, again, in working in partnership with our PTO, we had tried to work out originally, the PTO was going to buy 3 3D printers, and I was going to match their donation and do the other 3, but we were able to do all 6. So we finally won the small battle. I'm not sure if we won the war on this, but the small battle with procurement, and we're able to purchase 6 in total 3D printers. We have 2 that are already on campus and shipped, so they heard us loud and clear, which is great. And so I know that the 8th graders are going to complete a project. I know Ms. Askovich is excited to do that with them, at least so they have a little token to take away with them when they graduate. So we'll get that up and running. For our budget committee, I didn't really mention this, but I would say we did sign up, and we are gathering more information on what they're asking is an internal accounts, trying to do a pilot program. From what I gather in a survey that I took, I think it's so that they could streamline helping with reconciling POs at a faster pace. But my take on it as well is, and happy to say that we are always in good habits of this, when we take money in as a local school council in our internal accounts, that it is approved. And then when we take that money in, it's approved for exactly what it should be spent on. So I have a feeling it's going to be around that in both of those areas. For competency B, Mr. Kennedy led the school staff with more LED 180 professional development, and making sure that the teachers are focusing on a priority standard to be taught, and standards to be taught, I should say, at their grade level. So continuing that, and then next month after spring break, when we reconvene, we'll do our unconscious bias in schools, focusing on Chapter 7, examining instruction and classroom climate on that. So pretty much wanted to just, the other thing I'm sorry, for competency C, and I didn't put it in this, I want to make sure people are keeping an eye on Go CPS. So more information, make sure that you're following with the newsletter. I know Mr. Kennedy has had that in there for several weeks now. In addition to Mrs. Algretti has gone and spoken, talked to the 8th graders, talked about their scores, what have you, so that their next moves for selective high school enrollment. So all of that is up there. There is no internal accounts for spending over $1,000, but we do have a budget transfer later on the agenda. Do we have any questions from a very fast principal?
Yeah, just could you go back to C? You could go back to your, your C1, I think it was, competency C. I just have a quick question on this one. So what is it that we're doing from a social emotional learning aspect? Because I thought last year this came up and there was like a program that was going to be initiated. And I just was curious, like what, if that has been done or what's the plan there?
Yes. So this is we talked about it, and I can let the teachers speak on it as well. We had the audit that came through, and we went from emerging to exemplary. So we've gone up, which is basically providing evidence, doing observations from the SEL department. Katie, I don't know if you wanna, or Mary, if you wanna speak on, and even Lara can as well. With some of the programs of what we do during homeroom time, etc. It doesn't matter to me, Mary, Katie.
I'll talk a little bit. So we continue with Calm Classroom, which is universal through the whole school for mindfulness and calm breathing. And then our grade level, we have it really directed, 3rd and 4th, have a whole special class to social emotional. I don't know. Anything else?
And just to speak on that, Mary, yes, every grade level is required a certain amount of minutes, depending on their developmental level of SEL instruction a week. And the great thing about our program, Second Step, that we use throughout all of the grade levels is that as a child, progresses kindergarten and up, the language, the terminology, all that stays consistent. So those are truly lessons that they hold within as they grow and mature. So it's a consistent curriculum across all grade levels.
Thanks, guys. It's great to hear from the teachers. And actually thank you for putting the specific, that was at Second Step. I couldn't remember. I remember though, Mr. Kennedy talking about that last year. Now it's all, I think it was last year. And the Calm Classroom. So that's helpful, putting those indicators in there, what that's related to. Thanks, guys.
Again,
it's a nice program that moves with them as they grow and age. It's a nice program.
It is, and that was part of the evidence that we could provide, that we were showing that vertical alignment, going up, and being consistent on there. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, the kindergarten, the 3rd position, great. That was great news for a lot of parents, I'm sure, in kindergarten, with kids in kindergarten. Did you say that would be just a one-time annual thing? They have to revisit that again, or can we say to incoming parents that we're confident we'll have 3 teachers next year too?
So yes, for both. I see where you're going, Chris. I've trained you all so well. The problem is I think we will approach this with 3 classrooms at the beginning, depending on our budget. Because if for example, this year, they didn't analyze us until, February, March. So I would hate to go for a half of a year with a huge classroom, though I know we have in the past, but would really like to rectify this. I'm hoping we have enough funding for us to say right out of the gate, hey, we're going to have 3 kindergarten classrooms for next year. So that's one of what we're advertising at this point. But I'm really advertising for neighbors and or parents with younger to make sure that they register their children as soon as possible, because it just helps us make a decision, in the spring easier for us, I'd say later on in the school year. So please encourage any neighbors, anybody. Ms. Vicky has already started registering students. She's doing it virtual on Wednesdays. So, and it's been in the paper as well. But yes, to answer your question, 1 year.
Just this year. Okay, we're back to counting the enrollment numbers to be sure. Got it. Thanks.
The interesting move is that they've changed it just from kindergarten to 3rd grade. They've increased it with all grade levels. So, that will help and support us moving forward. It's just, again, trying to encouraging them, if they've listened to the feedback, to have them do it sooner in the school year as opposed to later in the school year.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions there on this principal report? If not, we can talk about budget um,
So
as the next report.
right. So the other on top of it, I'm just going to start off, and then Elaine, we did meet with Deepak and Christina and Elaine for our budget committee. So if I'm not making sense, because this is a different language, I know that Elaine did an awesome job last Wednesday night summarizing. So I'll put you on the spot, Elaine, but just in case.
Oh, you can. I'll try.
So kind of the way that Chris sort of asked a perfect question that sort of, I was into this as well. I'm trying to predict how many students will be enrolling in our school and how many students. This is an interesting year because a lot of students chose to either go either private or homeschooling. The great thing is Miss Vicky did keep track of what students had moved out of the city and or state or, you know, our neighborhood. And then some of the students that we know that will be returning, even though they weren't here this school year, for next year. So there's two lists that I'm working with. And then I also go with our projections of, you know, how many kids are in second grade. So therefore I can predict how many kids will be in third grade. So again, it's sort of making sure that we're keeping communication open. I do know that we've had a couple job transfers that have transferred some of our students out of the state. So just making sure that our parents are forthcoming in information, it just helps me able to plan for the future. So we as an administrators had a meeting with Heather Wendell, who's head of the budget department, and discussed you know, what they felt, how they were going to address school budgets after a, you know, pretty debilitating year here of funding into the city, into the state, et cetera. So what she had said is that she was going to do a 3-year average of all schools' membership. So last year, the year before, and this year, and wanted to make sure that she was trying to be, true to our school's numbers and hope at being a realistic amount of students. So they predicted our membership. Let me start off with this. We had last year 661 students in February. So that was just prior to COVID breaking out, and had a maximum of 665 students last school year. We are currently down to 601 students that are in our building, I should say, that are attending our school. And they are predicting for next year that we would have only 615. So what I do is I ask for a school enrollment adjustment. And the way I'm doing this is going with that list that Vicki keeps track of, how many students that will be returning and how many students that have moved out over the years. And one of the things that I rebutted and some of the evidence that I gave them, why I'm disagreeing with only 615 students returning, is that, you know, we had calculated 34 students that had moved out, but we knew that our count would be close to an additional 50 students. And I'm taking in the additional kindergarten students and also not graduating. We have more kindergarten students coming in and graduating less 8th graders. So that's another change in numbers. If you took the average of a 3-year enrollment, like they stated that they were going to do, our number should have been 632 students. Even if they had the given evidence of 4 years, we would have had 620 students. So that was why I said, no, I am going to request for an additional 665 students, so that our budget would be based on 665 students for our student-based budgeting. So basically, the reason why I'm requesting this is so that we could get funding at the beginning of the school year. In other words, I would have the money when I go to balance the budget next month, as opposed to waiting till next fall after the 10th or 20th day. And the reason why I do that is so that I can buy a teacher at the beginning or over the summer, hire a teacher so that we're ready to go with that teacher and grade at the beginning of the year, as opposed to waiting and transferring students out of a classroom to go in with another teacher because we were granted an additional teaching position because of additional funds. So if I did that correctly, I am asking for additional 45 students so that it would come with an additional money attached to those 45 students. I'm hoping I made sense. Any questions on that? That's kind of complicated.
And that's, just to be clear, that's something that you're going to do with CPS. I mean, that's a conversation you're going to bring back to them. You're going to make an argument that we are shorted. We really think we deserve 45 more than what you say. And do you...
Correct. So the other part of it, I didn't. So with that caveat comes you've got to pay if you do not receive those additional 45 students. I'm sorry, I'm muted.
No, you're good. I said, if you don't meet that enrollment, what happens?
Correct. So when I don't make that, as I would have to pay for those funds back. And the reason why I want to do it up front is we do have enough money in our internal accounts that if I had to utilize our internal accounts, which the LSC had approved, monies to be used for teaching positions or staff positions, we have that money in reserves in case we need to use it. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
That's it. Okay.
Ms. Munns, this is Deepak. It's a quick question. When do you think they'll reply?
So last year they replied probably about a month later, so into early, probably around by the end of this month. I'm not sure, Deepak, if it's going to be at the end, just before spring break or after spring break. So it could be at the end of March or the beginning of April. Last year when they came back, they only gave me, I think, 3 extra students. It was sort of a battle back and forth. And then I think Elaine, we did sign off. Elaine has to sign off on it as well as our network chief. We were able to get additional kids, but we were okay with our funding. So we'll have to see what ends up happening. Do you have concerns, Deepak, on the timeline?
No, not at all. I was just wondering about when they would let us know, so we would have a sense if we had to make a budget transfer from internal accounts to fund a teacher or something like that.
So we'll need to know that. I'll have a budget committee meeting as soon as I get as soon as I just get our 1-pager of how much funds that they're going to give us and how many students they're going to give us credit for, and then we'll go from there. And then we'll definitely have to have additional meetings in the upcoming couple months here to get approvals of the budget for next year. Again, everything's got to be aligned with our school improvement plan, the CIWP. Okay. So the next thing, I think we're okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the next thing that I do need to get an approval on, I believe it's here, is this correct? Yeah, the budget line where it says line positions, budget line positions. So I normally spend about $70,000. It was about $72,000 for our miscellaneous employee bucket. This year, at the beginning of the year, I only put in $28,000. So because we don't know how much money we were going to go through with remote learning, and then now obviously with hybrid learning, I've asked the budget committee to approve, and then therefore we've got to go through Robert's Rules of Order here and vote on a budget transfer of $30,000. This was from a 115 line, so that means it is it is the CPS funded positions that I used money from in order to put in the bucket to support additional miscellaneous employees to help with work in the classroom with hybrid learning. So I'm asking if we could please pay for additional miscellaneous employees to support hybrid learning in our miscellaneous bucket to increase that bucket amount for $30,000.
Yeah, I make a motion to approve the 30K budget transfer within the same, fund and grant as you described.
I second.
All right, here's what we'll do to make this official, because it is a money transfer. I am going to assume there's a unanimous approval unless I hear somebody not approve now. So please unmute yourself and let me know if you do not approve of the transfer of the $30,000 into the miscellaneous bucket.
I have a quick question before voting.
Sure. Sure.
Is this? I remember in the last meeting, a number of positions were approved and funding were approved for the reopening. Cadre positions, additional staff in case someone's sick. Is this in addition to all that, or was that funding taken away?
Correct. So a little bit of both, Chris. We did get 2 miscellaneous positions from CPS that is being paid out of their bucket. And then I'm adding 30,000 because I only put 28,000 of what normally we would have the amount of miscellaneous employees. So that is paying for a couple additional just to support the hybrid learning. So we may have to add more funds later on in the year, but I didn't want to add too much money too soon. So I'll just keep an eye on the bucket. So we did get 2 CPS positions with that. So I'm increasing it just to, again, we're still behind what we normally spend on it, which is about $72,000.
And that's miscellaneous, right? It could be for staff. It could be for something else we might need at the school.
It's for, no, I'm sorry. It's called a miscellaneous employee. And so they are employees that get paid by hourly. It's $15 an hour and with no benefits and they get paid by the hour.
Okay.
Any other questions there? Thanks for asking that. All right, so I'll just open it up again really quick. Any opposition to that motion that we made? All right, hearing none, we'll go ahead and approve the budget transfer.
Thank you.
Yep. And we'll move on to a principal evaluation, which will be really brief here because what we're going to do tonight is go into executive session after we wrap up the regular order of business. Chris Schumer has sent out a link for another meeting invite that we'll use. This is a closed session, like I said, it's not open. We will we have 2 charges here. One is to come up with a summative rating for Chris's overall performance and a move to renew her contract. So we'll discuss those in executive session. We'll also discuss her annual evaluation and the ratings that we're going to use for the PIAT system through CPS. So we need to do those ratings and we need to talk about the summative ratings. We will formulate those and in next month's meeting, in the open part of April's meeting, we'll approve those. But tonight's will be kind of a work session to get those all lined up. And then Chris, I saw, Chris Munns, you sent around your mid-year evaluation to us. Is there anything you want to highlight there or point out in it?
Sorry. It was my mid-year annual review with Network Chief McGlade. She only did the two, competency A and competency B, because she's required to do it, the other 3 at the end of the year.
Okay.
So I just wanted to just give you that feedback there. It's sort of they are not giving summative evaluations as chiefs just because it's been a unique year. And remember, 50% of my evaluation is based on test scores. So that's why they're downtown, or their CPS side to principal evaluation. They are not doing summative. So they're only requiring a conversation. So it just gives you a little bit of the insight. A lot of it is, we're just moving forward with our school improvement plan and staying the course of what we have been doing. So I think that might be helpful, reflective with the members when evaluating.
Okay, great. And then sometime between now and April's meeting, we'll connect with you as well and go over some of the feedback. And then any report from the PTO this evening?
Sure. We have the Chipotle
All right.
fundraiser coming up this Monday in Skokie. And then we have our regular meeting on Wednesday of the 24th, next Wednesday.
Meeting's at 6:30 on Wednesday, is that right?
Correct.
Cool.
Send out a reminder in the newsletter, and I'll send out one through Membership Toolkit by this Friday.
Cool. All right. Any regular business being expenditures for internal accounts and school usage? We have neither, so we'll go on to old business and talk about the capital expansion project. I don't know, Chris, if you want to.
You want me to take the lead and then you can jump in anything? Okay. So we did have a Zoom meeting, Mr. Kennedy and I did on March 2nd with the aldermen. Elaine was able to join us for that as well, where we were able to see some, this is where I'm going to need you, Elaine, with titles, but I would say drafts of the rooms, where the rooms are, sketches of the rooms, requiring, like I said earlier, next Monday night at 6:30, we'll have a virtual community meeting where we'll find out, we'll be able to see all of the plans as well as the timeline and getting any questions answered. I would also say that the review, we were able to tomorrow, Mr. Kenny and I are going to do another review of the plans to determine location of all grades and classes. And then looking forward, Friday, we're having a dry run with the PBC and Alderman Nugent on what Monday night's meeting will be. So exciting. I really would recommend everybody to attend that meeting, ask any questions that you have. I've asked them. The nice thing is we've been through this. We've been down this road before, so we know some of the things to definitely ask for. Elaine, you want to add anything?
Only to you, Chris, at the school. Get as much input as you can from the folks that are going to be using that building, because it's only as good as you can use it. Big empty spaces are big empty spaces, and well-planned classrooms are well-planned classrooms. So if you need help, on visualizing what you're getting handed, I'd be happy to help out there, and we can find ways around that, to get that kind of communicated. But I would just say get as much input as you can, print copies of those plans, and hey, what do you guys think? And can you use your classroom this way, and that sort of stuff, because it's only going to be more rich with that feedback. And then all of us, let's get the word out to the community. Stakeholders aren't just the kids walking through those doors, but there's taxpayers and retirees and future students that are going into this building that are going to want to know what we're putting on that corner, what it looks like, how it gets used, how much noise, parking, and all that kind of stuff is going to be around it. So grab your buddies, tell them to come in and at minimum look at it.
Can we see, what was the requirements provided to them? Is there a requirements document that was asked, like at minimum we need X, Y, and Z?
They have a programming document, correct, that they develop. And they have not, I don't know if they've shared it with you at all, Chris, and they typically don't. And it's a formula they use on square footage based on students, usually. And then
Well, I guess I'm sorry to interrupt, but what I'm asking is, did we as a school provide a requirements document at minimum of what we need?
yes. Yeah.
Can you share that?
It's what we asked for in our capital committee. So it's 3 classrooms per grade level. Okay, so and a STEM, I'm asking for a STEM lab so that we can try to get additional uniqueness to just a regular classroom. We've talked about an art room, a music room, you know, enlarging the gym. How are we utilizing the gym for gym classes, that type of thing. So as long as more when I get to see them tomorrow, and then obviously we'll see them again on Friday. But it's, yes, they did take it all from our notes, and it was pretty detailed. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, I just wanted to understand. So, because if we're looking at it, you know, is it matching up to what what was expected? That's, I think, something that you may want to pepper in and just say, wait a minute, I thought we were going to get X, Y, Z. Can you explain why it didn't work? You know, just to prepare, I would say parents or whoever is going to be on these calls.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right. I mean, some of the things that I would just say right now, a conversation we had around library, you know, and that was something I had with Chief McGlade as well. You know, do you really want a library when we haven't had a library in so long? The library is in the classroom, and you don't even have enough money to get a librarian. So you don't even have the money for the position. So that's what we got to keep remembering just for now. You know, what are we looking to do? So they did not have space for a library. So that is something that.
Right, but I'm going to go back to put eyes on it and see a space that could be used for a library in the future when we get that librarian paid for.
Yeah, I wouldn't go. I just want to make sure that, again, when we're looking at it, we're able to check off the list. Here's what we want to get out of it, and making sure that all this effort, we're not missing something, or we're not hearing the word like, no, because we don't have the budget for X, Y, Z. But to Elaine's point, let's just make sure we can grow with it.
Yeah.
And flexible space.
Yep.
That's what I would say. Yeah.
Okay. So that's exciting. That's good. It sounds like they're on track too. So
Has the PBC or the Alderman's office given any special notice about this meeting to the adjoining residential neighbors?
They have through the aldermans. They're calling it a community meeting where they're presenting the schemes for the project. So they have advertised it. We've advertised it at the school, and the community association's been advertising it. So it's gone out that way. But it's not where they have to put somebody on notice because they're changing zoning or anything like that around them.
Right. I think it's better to get have them involved early on so that we get their concerns out of the way earlier rather than later.
Yeah. You're making a great point, and we'll bring that back to the alderman's office. You know, it might literally be a letter in each one of the mailboxes of all the peripheral houses there too.
Exactly.
You know, something like that. Yeah. Yep. You're making a great point. Now I'll make sure that the alderman's office gets that feedback.
And Tom, we did that last time at the project. We actually knocked on the doors, introduced ourselves with the project manager, et cetera. Gave out cell phone numbers, you know, just to let them know as well. Do you want me to notify them for the meeting for next?
Yeah.
I think, yeah, and then once they've been notified of that first meeting, I don't think any special notice is really required, because then it's on them to keep up with it. But you could very easily, if you're not involved in the school or any of the organizations, you could easily miss
Miss it.
an electronic version of notice of this meeting.
No, it's a great point.
Thank you.
I just got something today from 39th Ward update, and I don't see anything about the meeting.
Okay, okay.
They also might be
I'll
waiting
ask.
for PBC to give us a Zoom link. So I pushed for that, and I talked to Laurel this morning to ask for it.
Okay. Anything else any questions or? Yeah.
I have a quick one. Do we see the construction starting this fiscal year? Does that create any challenges for our hybrid reopening?
Not that I know of. We'll work with them. But I haven't seen the timeline yet, Chris, so I'm not sure when they're breaking ground. But we will definitely work with them. The nice thing is looks like it's only on the north side of the building. So it's not both sides. We'll still have the field, the track. Just trying to keep it. The biggest thing is going to be safety while this is under construction and making sure that the students and neighbors, stay out of the
Construction zone. It's exciting in there. Future architects in those fences.
We don't have any kind of architectural plans or anything yet, do we? We don't have any kind of elevations or.
The PBC has developed those. They ran 3 options and they are pushing one of the options as a priority. So that's what they're going to present at the meeting on Monday. But really rough schematic planning diagrams is what I'd call them. And they are showing elevation in the form of massing, how much chunk is going where. So that's what
I wonder if it not at this point, because they're probably not up to fully formed plans on it, but at some point when this is a more mature plan, to put that in our in the copy of the plans in our sign along the
in the marquee.
Yeah,
in the marquee. Not a bad idea. Just so people can see them.
Yeah.
Got it.
All right. And then Chris, Munz, I'm gonna keep you going here. Any updates on the school reopening or anything we need to hear?
No, I know parents have until I think this Friday to request their students to join for 4th quarter into hybrid learning. Parents that already have their students in hybrid, so on campus learning 2 days a week, will not receive that form. So make sure that you fill out the Google form if any parent is interested in having their student go from remote to hybrid.
Okay. And then we'll move into new business, and we have the safety report there.
One question,
Sure.
just with the school reopening updates,
Mhm.
any just reporting on, any COVID incidences? We've been pretty I've heard that the process has been, whatever you guys have put in place is amazing and really being followed through. But I wanted to hear if there was any reports there, just to kind of ease the minds of parents, especially coming in for the fourth quarter.
Great suggestion. Yes, no, I know Mr. Kennedy led the great reopening committee, did an awesome job, a ton of hours spent on planning. So the details have definitely worked out in our favor. For those parents, it is a little different looking building, but I think with pictures that have been in the newsletter and on social media, it gives you an idea. We have not had any COVID, I'm knocking on wood, instances at all. I do want to forewarn, we do have, obviously, even in a regular school year, students get sick normally, their stomach's not feeling well, maybe they get a temperature during the day, what have you. We do treat it like COVID. So we asked the student to go to our, care room in room 101, and parents get called, and there's a protocol that is followed there. And then we asked the remaining pod to leave the room so that the janitorial staff can go in and disinfect, and making sure, thankfully it's been, the ones that have been towards the end of the day. So they've been able to dismiss out of the cafeteria from the, being in the cafeteria. But no, thankfully, fingers crossed, knocking on wood, no COVID. A ton of PPE within the building, hand sanitizer, cleaning. The janitorial staff is cleaning. They've got a schedule for cleaning bathrooms, local places, stairs. So it's a little bit different, but it's really keeping the building clean. I can smell it, and when I have my mask off in my office. So it's just, the kids have been awesome about keeping their masks on. It's super cute in the cafeteria when they're talking at lunch, they're able to take their mask off because that's their mask break to eat. And they're, talking to each other 6 feet away, what have you. So I do know, so it's been a challenge, but everybody is really adhering, and we just got to keep our guard up on that. One thing that I didn't reflect because we don't know any information yet, ISB has changed some of their guidelines. So CPS has not adopted them yet, but I'm sure we'll have some more changes coming as more and more people get vaccinated, as the teachers get vaccinated, and the staff members. And our numbers hopefully declining. We do get tested. The whole staff, believe it or not, has been getting tested once a week. We are in a high zip code. So they did part of their agreement with CPS and CTU. Any schools in the top 10 zip codes that have a high rate going on, the staff is offered COVID testing weekly. There will be some information coming out, if not today, tomorrow, and this further week of students having the opportunity, 5th grade and up students, age 10 years and older, to get tested as well. But again, it has to have parent consent. So a flyer will be going home this week, so you'll be able to see that. And I know more information will probably be in the newsletter as well.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate it. Great news, and kudos to all the work, administration staff, engineering team, everybody who's done a phenomenal job. So thank you.
No, thank you.
Chris,
Kennedy and reopening committee.
yes.
The reopening, a lot of work, a lot of work.
Chris, you had a question?
Yeah, just to echo that, we're participating, and my kids are thrilled, and was really appreciative of all the preparation and communication coming out of the admin, and it's amazing how the teachers can teach both remote and in-person students at the same time. So kudos. I was wondering, and I'm getting questions from parents about the opt-in. Well, it works great now because we have small numbers in our pods, 7 to 14 kids a class. If everybody opts in, is there a max, or is there an option that, do we have a plan for handling if everyone jumps in, how we're going to respect, I think it was a 15 student limit per pod. How's that going to work? That's what I'm hearing from the parents. I know.
So there are more students opting in. There are a lot of class and grade levels that have space available. We also have other spaces in the building that we can utilize. We definitely have one classroom, the computer lab. I know Ms. Court has been working diligently, and it's hard because we keep getting a lot of this technology in. So if we have to, we will use the computer lab, but only if we have to. But our numbers are pretty low in kindergarten, where we would have to have a substantial amount. I do know with 8th grade, we're close, but we're not sure if those students are going to come back. So we'll find that out, and then we'll make adjustments. Another thing, Chris, just to keep in mind, if ISB's made those changes, I think they're pushing to get more students in classrooms. So if they've gone from 6 feet social distancing to 3 feet, I think the writing's on the wall that, we're just sort of waiting for CPS to adopt those, guidelines as well.
Okay. Thanks.
Great question. Any more questions or thoughts? Otherwise, we'll go into our new business. We've got the safety report on there.
So I just wanted to reintroduce like the safety committee. I know that we talked about when we were doing the committees, we would add it if need be. And we've had some unfortunate action in our neighborhood. There's been a couple things that have been brought to my attention where parents are reaching out to me. There seems to be a club that plays cards that are above the Sauganash restaurant. So I don't know if anybody has heard about this, but I think there's been a card club there, as well as some neighborhood shootings. So I just want to, 17th has been awesome and very responsive. They sent a squad card out in the morning for drop off for several days in a row. I just want to make sure that we're being diligent. I know I've reached out to CAPS. I've also reached out. The alderman, I know, is aware of this. I know some of the parents have reached out to them. So going to CAPS meetings, etc. Just want to make sure that we're keeping our ears to the ground and making sure that we're staying safe. I do want to give a heads up that we will be doing a lockdown drill. Most likely, I did have that in the principal's report. I think Mr. Kennedy is scheduling it before spring break. So it's just things that, unfortunately in the world that we live in, but have conversations with your children. It's just, we do these things just like we do fire drills. It's a safety drill to make sure that we remain safe throughout the school day. Is anybody else is anybody else hearing these things or seeing it on Nextdoor? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. There's four. Go ahead.
Sorry. You go ahead, Christine. Sorry about that.
You guys go. It's fine.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. You said that there were some police incidents related to a card club?
No. The police have been awesome in coming to school and just supporting us with students coming into the building and exiting out of the building. What I've had conversations with multiple parents is that I've been told that there's a club that plays cards on, I think it's the second floor of the Sauganash restaurant. I'm getting bits and pieces, and I don't know if anything is affiliated with that. I don't know if things are affiliated with, in other neighborhoods, and it's filtering into our neighborhood. Just want to make sure that we're being diligent, encouraging people to attend CAPS meetings, being vocal. It's a squeaky wheel type of thing. 17th, we've spoken to many of our police officers that are parents. They just said to encourage people to attend the CAPS meetings and reach out to the alderman, that type of thing, to make sure that we get the resources.
Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anything
We
else?
haven't had any indication of any gang activity in the school, have we?
No, not at all.
Gang affiliation?
No. Not at all. And we've had training for that too, Tom, just so you're aware. But no, not within our building at all. I think it's more of I don't think it's school related, other than the school is a part of the community. And I just want to make sure this is being brought to the leader of the school and being a part of the community. So I just want to make sure that we're diligent as board members to do our part and making sure that we're, being vocal and getting the resources that we need to keep our students safe and neighborhood.
All right, anything else? Otherwise, we'll open it up for public comment. I see Robert and a couple other names there too. This is your opportunity to unmute and and talk and ask questions or anything that you've got. I'm going to actually kind of ask one question that was brought to my attention on is the start of the school year, the switch of the calendar, the academic calendar for next year. A couple of parents have asked if that's something that's unique to next year, or is it something they're proposing for the upcoming years, was one, kind of concern or question. And then also too interested in hearing your feedback, Chris Munns, if it's something you want, something we should, that's a good thing, or, are there drawbacks or not, positives to it. And then, they're asking for feedback. How are they, might it change and not go in effect, or are they kind of going to blow through it and just collect the feedback as protocol, or?
Yeah, no, I'm not 100% sure. They haven't committed to anything. They are trying to get feedback. My 2 cents would be June. It's really hard to keep students' attention.
Engaged, yeah.
Okay, and keeping them engaged is super hard. Really, you get the jealous vibes of when the parochial schools are out and we're still in session. So that's what I would say at the tail end with June. August can be tricky because a lot of people do like to still, that is still part of the summer. I will say historically, they did this one year, probably in my first 10 years of being a principal. They tried to change it to prior to Labor Day, and it didn't go over so well. So they only did it for 1 year just because they couldn't get. The other thing that I think is unique to our school community is we do have a lot of students that go back to see grandparents or from where they, a lot of immigrants that have come and have gone back, want to go back. And some of them are not always back. They're used to coming home around Labor Day. So that would be the only adjustment. I just want to make sure CPS determines what they're going to do so that parents can plan accordingly.
Cool. Anybody have anything else they want to open up with?
I would assume, I don't know, just a connection and feedback that if they're going down this route, making sure the park district also coincides with the programs, because those typically are hand in hand. So it'd just be interesting what the trickle effect is going to be too with parks for like day camp and programs.
Yeah, great point.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Does the park district go all the way up to Labor Day, or do they stop their camps in August?
They go right up to through that last week of August, I think. But I'm not 100% certain, and I haven't looked at their programming for this summer either. Okay. So, all right. Let's set the agenda for the next meeting, and which we will, in the open meeting, we'll renew Chris's contract, hopefully. No, we'll go through there. Hey, I shouldn't laugh. That's not funny. We'll do the contract renewal in the open meeting and the annual evaluation scores. We'll do an approval for those. And nothing else that I can think of that has to go on the agenda until we go through the next month. So I will also get connected with the Alderman's office over the community meeting to make sure we're getting that word out. And then we will meet again April 19th at 6:30. So what we'll do now, I'm going to, let's hear anybody who does not have Chris Schumer's meeting invite. It's a Zoom link that he sent through email. So